I'm giving out free drugs here, ladies and gentlemen. Free hypnotic drugs. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, sleep. And you develop a clear, precise image. Now, what I'd like you to do is to take these two hands, hold them here like this. Now, on the one hand, Suze, you have the old Suze. You really start to crave her. You really start to feel, oh, you know that mouth watering? Oh yeah, there, you got it. Anticipation, where you see something and ooh, you just want it and you can't wait for it. And you could see that Suze coming all the way inside of you, closer and closer. And the moment your hands come together, something magical is gonna happen. You're not gonna be able to hold that desire back. You're gonna feel compelled to act upon it. And then only after you stress yourself up enough, you get worried enough, you feel bad enough, then finally you get to the gym. My policy's a little bit different. I like to use desire and pleasure and good feelings. 2, 3, open your eyes. For you tonight, since you came here, I'm gonna give you all my secrets. Even the stuff I wasn't gonna share, I'm gonna even share it tonight. Now, for me, it's been a long way since I first got into enhancing my brain. And for me, I was going to go to Harvard Law School. I had a full ride scholarship, I had a 4.9 GPA, but I had really terrible anxiety and panic attacks, which sent me overboard. In third year university, I had drug addictions, anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I was hospitalized, and then I reached the point where every single person, every phobic, every depressive, every person with PTSD that I've ever worked with and talked to who's gotten over and let go of their problem, reached that point, that enough is enough point, where you just get absolutely fed up and you shift from being inside of whatever problem, whatever it is that's been troubling you, and basically you dissociate. So you see yourself in the situation, you see what's been going on to the point at which you just reach that enough is enough threshold. Now, how our neurology works is it works by a theory that's similar to what's called catastrophe theory. So what happens is with something like sheet metal, if you push it down just a little bit, the metal will pop back. However, if you push it hard enough with enough force, you're able to completely bend the metal into shape and it won't bend back. Our brain very much works in the same way. So for us, the problems with our problems isn't that they're problems, it's that they're not bad enough. So for you or for anyone else here who has certain habits or things that you do, part of the reason why you haven't shifted out of it is because it simply hasn't been bad enough yet. And it hasn't been close enough together until you reach that, fuck it, I'm done with this shit point. Now, most people, it takes either a heart attack, cancer, or a spouse to get it to wake up and like, holy shit, I better start eating better here. And by that point, you've probably plowed through a good portion of your stem cells and telomeres, in which case it's going to be a lot more work for you as opposed to getting ahead of the game. And when it comes to anything, whether it be anxiety, whether it be your ability to focus, whether it be your ability to perform, the trick is to be able to get ahead of things. So if you find yourself in a kitchen, migrating in the middle of the night, opening up a fridge face to face with a chocolate cake, you're too late. Because the moment you see it, your unconscious takes over, then you have total amnesia for the rest of the night. Then you wake up tomorrow morning, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, shit, gained another 2 pounds. Then maybe you get upset and frustrated about you gaining 2 pounds, and then you wear yourself out, then you get a little depressed about being frustrated about being 2 pounds overweight. It's a lot of work. So I work with lots of clients, and sometimes I ask myself, geez, this seems like a lot of work. You know, you get paid for these problems, and they don't. I work with incredible schizophrenics who have unbelievable imagination and incredible ability to reason and rationalize. In fact, outwit some of the smartest psychologists in the entire country. I work with one, the whole secret society chasing him. He'd look at someone, they'd appear out of sight. He'd wonder whether he just killed that person or not, or whether they wanted to kill him. And everyone kept telling him, there's no secret societies, blah, 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 blah. You're not talking to the devil. And of course he said, well, yeah, there are secret societies. You wouldn't know about them. Or the devil said you would say that. And it's very, very elegant how people are able to maintain their model of the world. So tonight, I'm going to present to you a model of nutrition, which is simply a menu, a representation, which is not the territory itself, but a model that may perhaps guide you to developing superhuman levels of health, of vibrance, of vitality, of hormone health, of focus each and every day. Or it may not completely do so. But both parts of you will be paying attention to get the things that it is that you need and will benefit from and execute tomorrow morning and each day forward. Isn't that right? Always have some positive suggestions and plans for the people who I know well. So when I'm talking to one person, I may be talking to them, or I may be talking to someone else, or I may be talking to multiple parts of you. Because there's a conscious part of you that says, I want to do things, and then there's an unconscious part of you that actually does them. There's the conscious part of you that goes, I shouldn't be eating. Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for coming. Now, you guys did make the trip from Toronto, so I'm not going to give you a hard time. Most people, I would give them a hard time, but you guys, you came all the way from Toronto, so it's great to see you. Since you guys came, I'm going to give you guys a jar of coconut oil for coming. Get this here for you. We got a few more people coming too. Here's a jar of coconut oil.
Thank you.
Now, for me, nutrition very much comes full circle. When I switched from into a degree to neuroscience to learn everything I could to take control of my brain, the first thing I really got into and researched was nutrition, nootropics, different nutraceuticals, different herbal regimens. And the cool part was I had access to fMRIs, QEEG brain imaging, so I could be mapping the brain in real time to see how different foods, different nutrients could influence and change the brain. And I did this so much, and in fact I did videos and stuff that, I remember back when I was 23, I had a company call me and bring me down to Atlantis, Bahamas to do a talk. And this was before the beard. So here I was, a 23-year-old kid up front, and I have a testimonial from one of the guys there. He was like this 55-year-old guy, the head of sales of the whole department. And the testimonial goes like, well, we walked into this sales and performance training, and we saw this young-looking guy named Chris Wyllie. We saw him, and we were like, who the heck is this young kid? What the heck does he think he knows? I've been in business for 30 years. But then I said to them, hey, look, I'm here, you're paying me lots of money to talk to you. You guys are a medical company. You have medical doctors that advise to you, and you brought me here to educate you on nutrition. So perhaps I learned a few tricks, a few secrets of the trade, which you may want to learn about to develop a super memory. Because as you can tell, I'm not doing notes right now. I'm doing it straight from my brain. Are you interested? Then they started listening, and I told them the story about this one client I had. His name was John, CEO of a law firm, beautiful guy, great personality. And however, he had one large problem. He was 300 pounds and slowed him down. And I remember one morning he was supposed to come see me, and he was sick as a dog. He was coughing away, throwing up, whatever, and he said, geez, I just can't come see you. And I said, John, I know you got important meetings. You need to come see me. It will pay off. And he said, no, I can't come. And I said, John, come, I promise you. So he showed up, 6 a.m. It was actually like 5:30. Came at 5:30, and this is where I brought out my tricks. And these are something you want to do. So the first trick I did, as I was experimenting with this, is one first elixir beverage. It had medicinal mushrooms, which in and of themselves enhance immunity. Number two, a chlorophyll-rich superfood, like chlorella. I put some wheatgrass in there. Then I put a vitamin C botanical, camu berry, and some lemon. Put that together into one drink. It tastes like absolute crap, but he drank it. And then I did some neurofeedback training, neurofield. I did some NLP, some hypnosis. Then I gave him some nutraceuticals, choline. I did a thing, not modafinil, but something like N-acetyltyrosine and some different things to get his brain really, really focused. And then, of course, I gave him my trademark Loving Libido Mocha. And then I sent him off to work. And then comes lunchtime, I'm with another client, and my phone starts ringing. And it starts ringing. And anyone who's ever worked with me knows that I'm zoned in with the client. I don't care if there's someone at the door banging, I'll integrate it into the hypnosis and utilize it somehow. But my phone keeps ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing, and the client's just like freaking out, oh my God, aren't you gonna get that? And so I finally picked up the phone. It was John. And he said, Chris, you won't believe it. I was singing on the way to work. To go to law, to go to court, I was singing. I never sing. And I said, yeah. And then he said, you won't believe this either. This guy closed hundreds of thousands worth of deals, closed the case for this one client. He wasn't even gonna go because he was sick as a dog until he called me. And I'm relentless like a dog. I was like, you have to come. Because one of the cool things with nutrition is that we're able to quickly change our state simply by changing what we put into our body. So food very much is codified energy. That's what it is. It's photonic energy, electrons from the sun, from the earth, from the minerals and nutrients, which codified in the food, which when we ingest it, we consume those frequencies. No different than when we sit out in the sun. Now, by adding in those higher energetic foods, we're able to change our frequency, our vibration, the state in which we're operating, and therefore influence things like our neurochemistry, our neurotransmitters, to alter our thinking, our memory, our focus. And that's the really cool thing with nutrition. Now, one of the things is we have a car, and we're taught how to drive our car. We're given driving lessons, but we're not given lessons on how to actually run our brain, how to think, how to control our thoughts. Now, this is the land of neuro-linguistic programming and neuroplasticity, which is very much something I got into as a forte once I developed through these different steps. However, one of the simplest things is the actual fuel we put into our vehicle, into our vessel. And you can have a Ferrari, but if you put in cheap gas over and over again, or you put in water, that Ferrari's not going to run like a Ferrari after a while. And all of us, we have this incredible, unbelievable brain, and we don't know what it is that it's actually made of and how it actually functions. Because if we did, it would make it much simpler and more intuitive for us to understand what it is we want to be eating and putting inside of our bodies. Now, I've thought about how the diet and health has changed over the course of several years, and in fact, I've been doing this research for over a decade. I ran a personal training business before. I trained and worked with Olympic athletes, so very much tuned into how food affects our body. But when we think about it, like actually from the consumer, like it's almost like a joke. It's like a hoot when you think about the stuff that we've been told over the years. Like when you think about it, like first, they say, have the low-fat, high, heart-healthy carbs. Then some fats, which they said were bad, now turn out to be good, like coconut oil. Then there's some diets, like have you guys heard of the Atkins diet? Only eat meat and fat? Is this doctor freaking nuts or what? Then there's vegetable oils, like canola oil, which they said was good. Now they say it's bad. The omega-6s. Then there's this paleo thing. Lots of meat, lots of fat. Gotta be totally crazy, right? Then some people say egg yolks, they're the best ever, most nutritious food. Then other people say they're the worst ever. Oh my God, you only want to do the whites. You gotta watch your cholesterol there, doc. And fat, that's bad. Salt, that's bad. Red meat, that's bad. How about dairy, ladies and gentlemen? Who the heck knows, right? But guess what? We can have our heart-healthy grains, cereal. It has the stamp of approval. But wait, We can't even have wheat. Have you read the book Wheat Belly?
Heard of it.
Wheat's apparently worse than the stuff being sold on the street. Do you guys think it's really possible that wheat could be killing people, causing heart disease, dementia? Really? Well, it turns out like the best thing since sliced bread turns out to be the worst thing since sliced bread. And then when you think about it, then the people are talking about this anti-nutrients, mycotoxins, molds. Now we can't even enjoy our vegetables, for goodness sake. And then, who here drinks coffee? Some people say coffee's good, some people say coffee's bad. What the heck are we gonna do, right? Who the heck knows? Who are we gonna trust? Now me, what I look at is how our brain structurally is composed, how it functions, and what it uses for fuel. And it becomes very, very intuitive. Now, do you guys know that our nervous system contains over 3 pounds of one fatty acid? Any of you guys liking to guess which one that is?
Would it be the DHA?
DHA, that a boy, man. Your brain's working. Now, DHA, they say fish oil, right? Well, no. Because not all fish oil is created equal. However, our brain, DHA, is actually, it's not what we think it is. Now, most people don't necessarily know, how does DHA work all this magic? In the research, in the studies, they say DHA universally across the board enhances cognitive function. But how the heck does it actually do so? We see, it reduces things like increases HDL, reduces cholesterol levels, reduces blood triglyceride levels, and if you're looking for a surefire way to reduce inflammation in your hypothalamus, the best way to do it is prescription grade high dose fish oil. But how does it actually work? Well, which part of our body do you think contains the highest concentration of DHA per unit density? Which part? Brain? Doc?
Not my area.
Hey, you're the mind man.
Brain or the liver?
Liver? Liver does have higher DHA, yes. Any vital organ does. But specifically, our eye, our retina, has the highest amount of DHA per unit density. And there, in fact, is a very important reason for this. A lot of researchers, a doc in Canada, his name's Michael Crawford, he's studied DHA and seafood in depth and how our brain developed. And there's a lot of research showing that DHA is actually this wonderful quantum molecule. When we look at the actual structure of it, we see that DHA has these pi electron clouds, these electron clouds. And we see that DHA has this incredible ability to fluidly change and bend its shape. Now, DHA actually converts light frequencies into a DC current, which I can measure in the brain. It converts light energy, photonic power, into electric current. In fact, that's what our entire brain and nervous system does. We take these different sensory inputs, sound, touch, light, and convert it into electrical frequencies in our brain. Now, the presence of DHA enhances this ability for us to use light to convert it to an electric charge to basically charge and power our whole brain, our whole mind, our entire body. Now, when we look at things, when we look at something like a tree, what's a tree made out of? Correct. Thin air, though. Water, sunlight come together to make a tree. Now, humans, we think we're smarter than nature because we can decouple from the natural light rhythms. We can move around the planet on the Earth and stuff, so we can be like, yeah, it's night, we're going to go out and party. So we have to have a way to harness and hold on to energy when we're not getting it from the sun. But a tree grows and becomes a strong, deep-rooted thing just from light and water. So what do you think is a powerful way to enhance your bones, enhance your cartilage tissue? the right sunlight frequencies. In fact, we see this. The stronger, the more DHA we have, the better our ability to hold a charge, the better regeneration we get in our brain, in our body, in our bones, in our joints. And you look across the board, what's one of the biggest modulators of our bone health? Vitamin D levels. Now, the problem is you can't just take vitamin D in a supplement. Why? Because the chemical doesn't have the actual photonic light energy that's matched to go with it. So therefore, our body's a little bit confused. It's got the chemistry, but it doesn't have the light molecule to be able to use. So DHA is very important to facilitate these vibrations inside of us. So what happens is when you don't have something like DHA in your retina and in your brain, and we see this across the board, things like stress, things like Alzheimer's, and all these different things, we see DHA levels in the actual nervous system begin to decline. And it alters your ability to vibrate and utilize energy, and therefore alters your cognition, your focus, your memory. So DHA is one component, which is really, really important. And now, everything in nature and in life is naturally designed to be coupled and connected. So for instance, something like green grass. Grass is a complete food. Cows eat grass, it has minerals, it has protein, it has amino acids. And a cow eats the grass and then concentrates all the nutrients and stuff and things like the milk and such. Now, when we eat something like the milk, the cow stomach has already converted certain minerals and nutrients like vitamin K1 into an active form of K2 in the gut, which when we consume the milk or the butter, our bodies can utilize the K2. However, we have a poor job of just, if we were to eat a whole bunch of grass, to make the K2 out of the K1. So something like the cows are a natural converter that convert nutrients into the proper form for us. So when we're thinking about, hey, how do I get more sunlight energy into my diet? Well, this is where you want to look at some ancient superfoods like ghee, Ayurveda. And you can see ghee, it has that rich, golden carotenoids and fats. That's got tons of light energy concentrated from the sun. Now, monks, when they're high up in the mountain, and who here's heard of the bulletproof coffee thing? Heard of the bulletproof coffee thing? Well, where did the idea originate from? It originated from monks up in the mountains drinking what's called yak butter tea as a nourishing, hormone-boosting, energizing food because it's so cold up there and you're burning and burning through energy. The fats provide a way to nourish the nervous system in the brain. So the fats become really, really important. Now, who in here is a mom or a dad? Now, when your little beautiful daughter or son was born, were they a chubby little thing or were they the slim little thing? Chubby as can be. Now, interestingly, when we look at it, chimps are like 99.8% genetically similar to humans, yet a chimp brain is basically formed from the moment it's born, and it's as skinny as can be, while a human baby looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. What's going on here? Now, interestingly, that cute little chubby thing, 2 years down the road, it starts to learn how to walk, how to talk. Now, babies aren't born with the ability to do that, are they? They can't walk, they can't talk. Now, part of the reason why is because their nervous system isn't myelinated. Now, if you've heard of myelin, myelin is basically the sheaths that wrap around nerves that help to conduct electrical signals. So what happens is when you don't have that, is your brain and your body doesn't conduct these electrical signals well, so you don't have good neurological function. And this is where it takes a few years, and that baby, that son or daughter, they became skinnier over the years, didn't they? They went from that chubby little thing, they became skinnier, yeah? Well, where did all the fat go? The brain. Now, it turns out that all this subcutaneous fat, and this really is a way to have a convenience for females. Because truth be told, if you had a kid being born with like a human-sized head, it would be like absolute trauma, to the female, genitals. It wouldn't be, I don't know, but it may not be possible. So nature had to play this little game here, had to figure it out. It's like, okay, we'll make the baby with the smaller head, but we'll strap all this fat around the subcutaneous area so that in the first few years of life, the baby can start to use all that fat, convert it into ketone bodies, which then can go to myelinate the brain. Now, it turns out that the fatty acids are remarkably important for enhancing myelination. And initially, when I went to school and I studied neuroscience, the general belief was that our brain nervous system could only use glucose for fuel. But now we've found out, lots of doctors are talking about it, that our brain also can use ketone bodies, which are the byproducts of fatty acids, and they turn out to be like liquid jet fuel for our brain and remarkably enhance cognitive function. And the cool part is when we use glucose as fuel, what we've seen is we can only recruit up to 2% of the neurons in our brain to perform on a particular activity. However, when we use ketones as a fuel source, we can increase the recruitment of the number of neurons that can become active while performing an activity, which is pretty cool when you think about it. You can access and utilize more of your brain power. Now, of course, these are measurements by some researchers who made these measurements, and like anything, they could, they could be skewed. However, it makes sense when you consider this fact. Now, when you look at calories, fats have 9 calories, yeah? And carbohydrates, 4 calories. So you look at it, you'd be like, fats, 2.2 times the energy in terms of calories. But when you go one level deeper and look at the actual ATP level, we see that 1 mole of a carbohydrate produces 36 ATP versus 1 mole of a fatty acid produces 147. So it's 4.5 times the amount of ATP at the cellular level, which is why these high-fat diets work and why they've been shown across the study to improve mental functioning. When we have more ATP, we have more energy. It enables our brain to do more work. What's the first thing that gets sacrificed when we're stressed and tired, ladies and gentlemen?
Our cognition.
Our cognition.
We can't think when we're sick or tired. We're just like...
I know, eh? You get the inflammatory cytokines. Good God, if you have to contemplate, a work project or something that you're going to work on, is you don't feel like you have the energy.
So you're advocating the ketogenic diet? Yeah?
I'm just getting into it.
Okay, all right. Just ask. What is ATP?
It's adenosine triphosphate. So it's basically the energy at the cell level.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's what actually converts.
Now, it does something pretty cool. Now, ATP may or may not do what we think it does, which is just be the currency at the cell level. It may cause proteins to unfold to expose water binding sites to therefore improve electron tunneling. But I'm not going to get into that deep tonight. I'm just going to say that when we look at the input to mitochondria, we see that it's not fat, it's not carbs, it's not even protein. It's called electrons. It's called electron chain transport. Now, you may want to hold that thought in just a moment because you'll realize that everything is contextual. So if you're during the day and you're like, hey, I want to improve my mental focus, then yeah, perhaps you'd want to get into a more fat-burning mode with some DHA. Now, if you're an Olympic level athlete and you're pushing your musculature system, then it will make sense to have some carbohydrates. So everything is based upon the contextual thing. And I have people, they call me and they tell me, yeah, the ketogenic thing really, really works well to help me focus during the day, but my physical performance isn't the same. And I'm like, because I know all about this. I mean, when I first found out about this, I went hardcore on the fats. And I did get fatter. So this isn't something to go wild on. This is something to just have the right balance. So the main reason why the ketogenic diet is working is because it's liberating more energy at the cellular level, and it's providing more fuel for neurons. Therefore, they're able to do more work. Now, the thing is you don't want to just do what most of the paleo guys do, is eat a whole bunch of animal muscle. You know, you don't see any big brain smart-ass lions out there, you know, eating animal meat and muscles. So it's like, hey, do I want to be eating all that animal muscle, or do I want to eat what our brain's actually made of? Our brain's got 3 pounds of DHA in it. Now, DHA is very much the king of nutrition, based on what we're seeing, what it's able to do quantumly. Now, the queen, DHA's counterpart, the wife, you could say, is iodine. EPA is part of there. It's just one step removed from DHA. It has really powerful anti-inflammatory effects. But iodine. Now, iodine has these 7 outer valence electrons. Now, iodine, when you look on like a periodical chart, you'll see it's actually in the same category as things like fluorine and chloride, these things which are bad for us. Iodine's in the same category. However, it has one big difference. Iodine has a much larger atomic mass. So therefore, it doesn't hold on to its electrons as tightly. So she's more generous. She donates her electrons to protect DHA in the synapses, in the cell membranes, across the entire brain and nervous system. So iodine is very, very important to have as part of your brain nutrition plan. And here's another reason. The foundation of these anti-aging hormones is what's called LDL cholesterol. Now, there's a lot of talk about cholesterol, whether it's good, whether it's bad. Now, if you went home tonight, it would be the saddest thing in the world. I'd hope you'd have insurance. But if you went home tonight and your house was on fire, and it was burning, it could be the best thing ever, it could be the worst thing ever, but inevitably you'd have people there. You'd have firemen putting out the fire. Then you may have this guy come, this police sheriff, be like, who caused the fire? Then they'd look at the firemen. They'd be like, hey, the firemen are here. They're associated with the fire. There's a coincidence of them being there with the fire. Who here would blame the firemen for causing the fire? Ludicrous, right? But maybe something like cholesterol is just like the firemen. Cool fact. Our brain, 2% of our brain's of our total body's mass, 25% of the cholesterol in our body is in our brain. Now, when you start reducing cholesterol, if your brain doesn't hurt at that thought, you may want to do some more research as to what your brain's made out of. You may want to find a better way. Now, here's the better way to get your cholesterol levels in check. Because cholesterol needs a few other ingredients to convert to pregnenolone. Docs, you guys, phone. Okay. You got it down, yeah. Get the docs there to make sure I'm kept in check here. LDL cholesterol requires T3, active thyroid, and vitamin A to convert to pregnenolone. Now, pregnenolone is the master base hormone. Now, you can have LDL cholesterol levels elevated for a few reasons. Number one, you could be lacking in T3. Therefore, that LDL is not converting. Or vitamin A cycles. Vitamin A is actually controlled and modulated by the photoperiod, so our circadian rhythms. So one of the biggest things that messes that up is when you watch TV at night without blue light blocking glasses, and you have the lights on in your house or in your computer screen without it. Or if you don't get the morning sunlight to synchronize and train your brain to tell you, hey brain, it's morning time. Release dopamine so you can focus and go out and hunt food. Only the food is money, and you need to see clients. and do business. Therefore, you must look at the sun to tell your brain to wake up. Otherwise, you find yourself migrating to the kitchen, to the coffee pot, your dopamine, your dopamine Band-Aid, until eventually your brain runs out and the coffee doesn't work anymore. And then you pour a second pot, but the more you do it, the more it doesn't work, until you get yourself so acidic and your calcium effluxing to the point where you start to have joint pain. Then you go to your chiropractor to help fix the joint pain. Lo and behold, they don't realize that your paraventricular nucleus in your brain is fried. That's where the adrenal fatigue begins. Now, cholesterol, when you have proper circadian rhythms and you have iodine, it converts to pregnenolone. One great way to reduce cholesterol, make sure your iodine levels are in check. Now, iodine,
Know if your iodine levels are in check.
there's tests you can do. You can get blood panels, and you get a naturopath or talk to your doc. But one of the best ways is I like to just consume it, so that way I know it's getting in. And sea vegetables, one of the highest nutrient-dense foods is actually raw oysters.
Really?
DHA, iodine, selenium, copper, zinc. It's got it all. And then people are like, oh well, what if there's bacteria on it? Oh well, it's loaded with selenium, iodine, DHA, B12, iron, all the things that boost your immune system. Then you realize, holy smokes, we've evolved by water coastal regions, and guess what? The ocean is loaded with all kinds of viruses and particles and bacteria. Now guess what? Our genome, only 2% is coding DNA. All the rest is what's called junk genes. Non-coding DNA. How do we make these things? We assimilate all these different viruses, and our body basically adapts to the situation, literally is changing our genome to adapt to the environment. Now, all this stuff that turns out to be junk could actually be gold. Then we're finding this science, it's called epigenetics. So it turns out what our grandma did is actually important. However, if you're going back in your family history and you're like, oh shit, man, my grandma really had too much fun. I'm gonna have to be straight in this lifetime. Know that our brain and our body is remarkably plastic and changeable. And the whole point to know is that things are more open than they seem. So iodine in something like raw oysters is really, really important. Now, another thing that women especially, and I work with a lot of them, they're complaining, my brain's foggy, I don't have a lot of energy, I'm tired, is low iron levels. A lot of these people are anemic. And I especially see a lot of vegetarians being anemic because iron, that's animal products, centered on animal products for high-level bioavailable iron. Now what happens is when you don't have the iron, then your neurochemistry gets altered. Norepinephrine, things like dopamine, all require iron to convert. Then iron carries things like oxygen through our blood to our brain. So one of the things that we see when autistic kids is we're seeing mothers and parents going in with low iron levels ahead of time, low zinc levels. That's okay. I'm in a good mood today. When I do other seminars, cell phones that ring off, they turn into like rectal thermometers. But tonight I'm in a good mood. And we're going to talk a lot about habits too. I'm just geeking out a little bit for the science here. We're going to get into the experiential component as to how do you actually change habits.
Now,
Because
might you have a little Cole's notes for us, like with?
oh yeah, because you really trust your memory, don't you? Yeah, you know you're going to forget. Then you could think about the things that you usually forget, and you could probably tell me the things that you forget. Therefore, I could access that and put in things that you would want to normally remember, put them in the place where you forget, and therefore you'd be able to access the things that you want to remember, because you know the things that you forget. Therefore, you will remember perfectly each and everything that you need to know as it relates to habits forming in your brain, consciously and unconsciously. Now, what was the last movie you watched?
I never finish watching movies.
Do you fall asleep?
I do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll be a great hypnotic subject then. However, before you fell asleep, what movie were you watching?
Actually, I was putting my clothes the other day and watching some Cinderella story with my daughter.
Some Cinderella story?
Yeah, some of it.
Oh, some Cinderella story. All right, you got to the point. Damn it, I know she's going to get it in the end. Shut this thing off, happy ending. Boring. And you fell asleep. Now, did you take notes while you were watching the movie?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. But you remember some of the plots and the characters, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So your memory does work, just so you do know that.
I just do like trusting that there's like lists that I can follow because I'm a list person.
Because if you didn't use a list, your brain might have to grow and evolve and learn in some other way, and you'd enhance your memory. Good gosh, your memory would become better. Don't worry, I give everyone a hard time because I know our brains are capable of so much more. Because the cool thing is anything that we think we can't do, our brain is actually demonstrating the very thing that we think we can't do. So when people say, hey, I got a bad memory, well, they have to say that based on their actual memory. They need to remember not remembering. Now, the cool thing is, I love this. When people come in, they say, well, I'm not happy, and I could never be happy. I know their brain has the idea of happiness. They're just pushing it off. So it's my job to get them to bathe in it. Now, you're pretty, who here suffers from uncertainty in some things?
Sure.
Yeah, you?
Sometimes.
Are you sure?
I'm uncertain.
This is a funny thing about habits. Now, the interesting thing in our brain is that it's a targeting machine. And as it relates to food, most of us, we spend our days thinking, I don't want to think about chocolate. I don't want to think about chocolate. I don't want to eat chocolate. I don't want to look at chocolate. Ooh, I don't want to see it and desire it. And the whole time our brain's just hearing chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. And I got news for you. Your unconscious will find all the chocolate on the planet because it doesn't process negation. So when you say don't be anxious, in order to understand what that means, your brain has to access anxious. So here is where most people get messed up, is they do what everyone else does. They try to get through it with stress. They try to move away. Okay, for 3 weeks, I won't eat chips. I won't drink soda. And the whole time, they're just thinking, nah, I won't eat soda, won't have chips, until the point where they just get to that desire gets so strong and then they just splurge. It's like an elastic band. You're pulling it back, you're pulling it back, you're pulling it back, and then poof, there it goes, all the way. And the issue with that is you're simply just moving away from something. So I work with people who have addictions and stuff, and to all kinds of silly things, like smoking cigarettes and different things. And you see, it's not enough just to get someone to stop smoking cigarettes or to stop drinking alcohol. You need to build in something more important. And that's the person that they want to be now and in the future. And that you desire that more than the little bag of potato chips at this moment in time. And you use desire as opposed to stress. Because none of us, we don't want to feel bad and stressed. Eventually, it's going to break. And then we're going to splurge. And then we'll be like, shit, what the heck, man, I can't ever do this. And you'll go, hey, what the hell, we'll just go the rest of the day. We'll just have the whole bag. And then you call up your friends. Yeah, we're taking the next week off. We're going to deliberately feel bad, even though that we know that we're going to feel bad. But we aren't thinking about it in that moment. Now, there's all kinds of foods. And if you are here thinking about whatever it is that is your dynamite food, the thing that has more willpower than you, the thing that can keep its wrapper on better than you can. And if you think about whatever that dynamite food is for you, I know for the women in here, things like peanut butter, that's like female crack, peanut butter. People, have a stressed day and then they just think about peanut butter and they run this like little short movie in their head of opening up the jar of peanut butter, taking a spoon, having that first bite, then looking over the family room, they see the TV, they take the peanut butter or whatever your dynamite food is, you scoot on over to the family room, you sit on the couch, you put on the PVR, and good gosh, there's people I know that watch this stuff called like Young and the Restless. You're putting on the Young and the Restless, you got the peanut butter or the ice cream, and then you're eating it, and you have a bite, and your brain goes, it feels good. You release a little burst of dopamine, and then 5 minutes later, that turns into a and then you go, shit, why am I such a fat ass? Shit, why did I do this again? Why can't I just have some discipline? Why can't I just have some freaking willpower? I suck, I never could do this. Then you start crying and feeling bad about getting angry about eating the food. Now, if you did some things to raise your dopamine levels right away, like this is a talk on nutrition, so I'm going to focus on nutrition. Best food, miracle grow to raise dopamine? Movement. Sunlight. Especially AM sunlight. Because the amino acid tyrosine interacts with UV light to produce dopamine. Things like DHA. In the morning, a higher protein, moderate fat breakfast.
DHA from?
I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Now, to raise your dopamine levels, things like superfoods and such, so that way you think and go further into the future. So, who here's got a dynamite food that gets the better of you?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. I know you're the master of habits. It's just which habits are you the master of? The good ones or the bad ones?
I don't like
We're all masters of habits. Now, when your dopamine levels are higher, your willpower is better, your focus is better, your executive function is better, and guess what? You see, rather than running that short little movie, ooh, the peanut butter will make me feel better, ooh, the ice cream will make me feel better, you see what it's really going to do to you. You look at the peanut butter, and you see what each bite is going to do. Each little particle, each little bite, you see it sticking to your ass like glue. And it getting fatter and fatter, and you getting tighter and tighter, growing gray hair, becoming like an old man until you go, oh God, no way. Because you go further into the future. Get heroin addicts. Have them pull out their drugs. Be like, that's going to make you feel better, right? They go, yeah. Because they got this still little image, this picture. And remember the last time they felt good, the last time they did it. So what I have them do is take that movie, and I turn it into my movie, where they go further into the future. They see day after day draining their savings, draining their account, getting kicked out of whatever band or job they have, their wife leaving them and moving on and having a happy relationship, their kids never wanting to talk to them until you're old, you're jonesing on the street, you're going through withdrawal, you fall over, then some dumbass biker just comes out, pees on you, steps on you, and you die. Now, do you want that heroin? No, thank you. Because the problem with any form of bad habit is you're only asking yourself the question, what will make me feel better now? People go, well, I do feel better when I watch TV. It does help me relax. I do feel happy when I have ice cream. I do feel more relaxed when I smoke a cigarette. And I'm just smiling. Oh, poor person. What a poor selection of ways to make you feel good. Oh my gosh. You got this brain trillions, hundreds of trillions of neurons, synaptic connections, infinite abilities to experience ecstasy, joy, pleasure. Go hang out with a monk for a day or two. You'll see them vibrating hard joy and ecstasy. They're having the best time ever. They don't need to get married. They don't need to go anywhere. They're perfectly in kumbaya in their meditation because they've explored their brain and their neurology's capability to feel good. So this is where we have very little experience educating ourselves and our brain on how to feel good, how to feel joy, how to feel pleasure. And you docs, you guys know it. Clients come in, they're coming in depressed, they're coming in feeling bad, bad things happen. They're not coming in there having the best time ever with a wonderful sense of well-being. Those two just don't go together. And part of the reason why, what I've found with clients is they get stuck in these low vibrations. And they get stuck in, this is the only way for me to feel better. I'll only feel better if my boyfriend comes back to me, because I could never live without him. I could never see any future. And there's no way I could find a guy who's 10 times more wonderful, 10 times more caring and genuine and considerate. Good gosh, I have 14-year-olds telling me they have nothing to live for. And I'm going, son, you wait until you go to university, son. The women will change everything. You'll learn things like physics on how the universe actually works. Then you can do and build whatever life you want. Oh, wait until I teach you the memory things. You'll be able to forget any bad thing that happened and remember anything you want. Okay? Suddenly, there's hope. The seas start to part. Now, I have a beverage online. It's called the Love and Libido Mocha. I recommend you check it out on YouTube and upgrade it. Hey, Suze. Come on down. It's all right. I'm in a good mood today, so. Now, I'm always in a good mood. It's depending upon the vibe I want people to be in. Fear is a wonderful motivator. Now, for the schizophrenic who's paranoid, I'd rather have them fear me than a secret society. However, that doesn't work. For the paranoid schizophrenics, you want to get on their side. You just want to give them something better to move away from. So if they're moving away from secret societies, they're moving away from people killing them, I want to get them to move away from, what's one thing no one wants to be? Helpless. You get them to be moving away from the state of being helpless. So every time they're banging on the floor, they cut themselves, they're taking drugs, they're screaming. It doesn't change it, right? It doesn't help to get rid of the voices and stuff in your head. No, it doesn't. That's one of the times when you're helpless. That's something that didn't work. Now, there are secret societies, good and bad. It's like life. You got superheroes, you got the good guys, you got the bad guys. You know, there could be wars and stuff going on in outer space. We got no idea about it. Good and bad guys. Like everything. Just like you got good and bad guys in there. You got, good bacteria, bad bacteria, they're duking it out. Which one's going to win? Well, depends upon what you put in your body there, Dan. Now, so, some of us have learned techniques to protect our brain. Because, hey, what are you going to do? Secret societies, good and bad. So I taught him secret techniques. Now, he's got OCD. I'm like, wonderful. Give him some rituals. Some meditations. They got OCD, we're going to make it work. Now, part of the thing is docs at the back there, I know you guys work with patients and clients, is the cool thing about anything, any problem, is that it's systematic. So someone who's got OCD, they systematically do certain things. Now, the key there is how can you make that work well for the client? And how do you use that to their advantage? And then there's the things which they're not doing at all, like relaxation. No good experience at all in relaxation. So you teach them some relaxation techniques, be it some meditative techniques. And the cool thing is when you get people visualizing, like for this boy, I had him visualize his symbols for his name, the first name and the last name, in big 3D letters. And the whole time while he's visualizing the 3D letters, the fear centers in his brain can't fire. So I got him for 10, 20 minutes, no anxiety at all. Then I get him into a deep trance and I amplify that feeling. I have him spin it into colors and do all kinds of stuff and teach him techniques where he doesn't have the anxiety anymore. So the first time in a while, he has a reference structure of what it feels like to be relaxed. Because what happens is we're going to stabilize behind particular states of consciousness. It's how our brain works. What do you guys think the number one instinct of a human being is? Survival, docs? We're very good. We're very good at it. Yeah, Suze. We're really good at that stuff. It's actually, interestingly, to make things familiar. There are stories all over the news of people killing themselves rather than facing the unknown. And it happens all the time. You know, they break up with their spouse and they just can't envision life beyond, and they do that. And part of the reason why is because our brain does what's familiar. So our brain is going to be naturally drawn to repeating whatever it is that we've practiced really well. And this makes sense. You know, I studied a lot of guys in neuroplasticity. I really love like Norman Deutsch and the work he's doing. And he talks about plasticity of the brain. And there's the positive of that our brain is always flexible and changing. But there's the plastic paradox that the more we practice things, like whatever habits or state of consciousness that we're in, the better we get at it. And that's what we stabilize behind. So part of what we need to do is stabilize, generate new baseline frequencies. And you can in part do that by changing what you put into your body to raise your vibration. Because here's the thing with cravings, is they're generally a product of low dopamine levels. You feel tired, you feel a little bit drowsy, or you feel worn down, and then you go, hey man, brain, what will make me feel better now? And then you see some ice cream, see a little cake, be like, honey, what other treats we got? To fill the void. And sugar does a remarkable job at stimulating your brain. Some doctors even say it's more addictive than cocaine. It's more prevalent.
There's no such a thing as
No.
having too much dopamine.
Yeah.
There is?
Yeah, it's called, like, that's where you get the excessive dopamine, and then you get the excessive norepinephrine, and then you get the manic, you know, and then you get the whole bipolar thing, you know. So too much dopamine converts to norepinephrine. So what happens is if you get too much dopamine, then it converts to too much norepinephrine, then you get a lot of like hallucinations and stuff. Now, I see this in kids and people I work with who've taken, they don't know this, and this is part like when you're working with clients is, you know, you build that trust because you find out what they've really done, and a lot of, they won't tell you, but I got kids that they tell me, yeah, I did anabolic steroids for 6 months. I'm like, how the hell did I know that? There's a reason why this guy's nerves are always on edge. He did steroids for 6 months. He did all kinds of stimulants. His whole dopamine system's completely over-revved. So absolutely, like everything is balance. Now, as long as you're just doing things via nature, your body will self-regulate. It's when you start adding in high exogenous things. So for instance, when like one of the addictions and things I had was to like stimulants. And I did, I gave it a try. It was really silly. A lot of medical school students, they pop things like Ritalin like Skittles. Be in the library, you'd see guys lined up and they'd be popping a Ritalin 1 hour and then the next hour. And the whole time they're just zoned. You know, they have no problem reading the same page over and over and over again. Or like writing and getting nowhere. Yeah, but my brain's going really fast. I feel really good. I feel high. You know? I had a friend, I was in university. He took so much speed, he wrote his name 100 times on the paper. The teacher, he didn't realize it. The teacher called him in. He's like, I can't say his name. So how do you feel about your exam there? And he's like, yeah, I think I did pretty good. You wrote your name 100 times. Are you okay? Were you on anything on the test? He's like, no. He was also the guy with like the big Audi R8 in university that everyone loved, and he drove crazy. Yeah, I didn't see that car after like third or fourth year. Probably crashed it. Now, so don't get the illusion that these things like stimulants are limitless pills. Things are speed. which if your brain, if you're like a turtle and you're low in dopamine, you take something that's going to speed you up. Sure, it's going to help you to focus, but long term at a certain point, you have to have a way to actually build up the underlying chemistry and neurology and structure of your brain. So this is what brain nutrition breaks down into. Now, so you got that on the habit, you're trying to fill a void. Then the other thing is, for it's like self-marketing and advertising. Like, who here's got like a bad habit? You guys got a bad habit, you're hanging out in your kitchen, come on, you guys all got something, right? Right? You see whatever that food is, you think of it, you see it, and then you see it, and you keep thinking about it, and then you start to think about and remember that good feeling of when you had it last. Then you start to cook it up, and you remember that feeling, and that feeling gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and you're almost like self-marketing to yourself to that point where that desire gets so strong, you just go do it. You may know what I'm talking about. Guys?
I find also when I try not to think about something, it's when I think about it all the time.
Oh yeah, you don't think about being anxious, Suze. About being anxious. And don't think about chocolate cake while I'm talking either, and eating it, and just tasting so wonderful and sweet and filled with flavor. But then, liver. Tastes so good. Liver and chocolate cake coming together, and you have a liver chocolate cake. Yeah, you might never want that again. You like liver? It works pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, how about tongue? How about beef tongue inside of the ice cream? Now, why don't you just take your hands, you put one here, you got the ice cream on the one, you got the beef tongue on the other. Beef tongue, ice cream, beef tongue, ice cream, beef tongue, ice cream. And then you look at it and you take a first bite. You taste a little bit of ice cream. Then you start to taste, some of that livery feeling, that slipperiness of the beef tongue. Oh, yeah, isn't that good, good, good. Now, the whole time while you're feeling that, suddenly you have a choice. Structure of the brain. So our brain, 50% of the cell membrane is made up of DHA. We're coming full circle here, ladies and gentlemen. There's all kinds of loops spinning, loops that have been started, loops that are currently open, loops which you don't know that are in the back of your mind. You're thinking, yeah, he talked about that, but he didn't fully close the loop. And the more you realize that, the more you can start to get a little curious. What's going to come next? How is it all going to come together? And the more you get curious, the more you can start to feel that desire. I'm just wondering, ladies and gentlemen, what are one of those foods, those things that you just see and you desire it and you crave it, and it's the simple sight of it? Or you could remember what it felt like to eat that food and where it felt best. And was it salty? Was it sweet? Was it savory? Spicy? What's one of those favorite foods? And can you think of it now and remember how good it tasted when you ate it and you felt that desire? Now, there was a moment where you looked at the food and you went from desiring it to complete, wanted, go for it. Where you went from desiring it to going for it, and boom, that stuff was in your mouth. And then while you were eating it, you start to feel the pleasure and the joy and the satisfaction and the knowledge that you can and will have a perfect memory and focus and ability to learn when you get here. So the stuff that you don't think about and you do think about actually are both really good for you. So when you could say, I don't really want to be too relaxed and too happy. I don't want to be too focused and confident and making good money and learning lots about UV frequencies, about red lights, which are on the lower end of the frequency, which help with regeneration, and UV light, purple light, higher frequency to help energize the brain, the body, and the cells. So it turns out when you have the perfect balance of red and purple, it promotes health as opposed to only blue. Uh-oh. Okay, we can continue now. No, I'm just kidding. Saravji is a wonderful, wonderful sweetheart here. So thank you for coming and making it. Now blue would be like your sugar, your blue flake light. Now what kind of food would have the balance of red and purple?
Oil? Fish oil?
Green. Close. Green, perfect balance of red and purple. Now green foods like chlorophyll and wheatgrass and chlorella and things like broccoli and all these great superfoods, greens are known to basically turn you into a clean, lean machine, yeah? You know, pretty much if you're on the green side, you're going to be clean on the inside. Green foods are like liquid sunshine, chlorophyll, and they have the perfect balance of high and low frequencies. So something that's green is reflecting green light only. That's why it shows as green. So your blue shirt there, sir, it's absorbing every other thing except blue. And Suze, your hair, baby, you got the ultimate thing going on here. You got absorption, reflection. You know, you're really making it entertaining for me. You got the balance of the blue and the red there, so it's balancing out. So green, when you consume green foods, it really helps to nourish health by providing both the high and low frequencies. Now, anything that's green is centered on chlorophyll. The base of that is magnesium. Right? Blood, heme, has iron in the middle. Plants has the magnesium. Now, part of these problems neurologically, concussions, autism, even chronic pain, is we see a lot of overexcitatory activity. Now, calcium, when it enters the cell, it basically turns on the neurons, so it fires. And we have this calcification effect. So one of the biggest things when I'm working with someone to reduce chronic pain, to help heal concussion, is you want to get a lot of things that are going to balance out the calcium-magnesium balance. So this is where things like superfood greens, chlorella, wheatgrass, greens juices are really important to get into your system to alkalize, mineralize, and decalcify the body. So a lot of the things people, they come in and complain with, and a lot of clients, they complain of like chronic pain. And one of the best things you can do is get a lot of greens there. Now, Corinne, what do you think is the #1 natural calcium channel blocker? Anti-hypertensive, reducing your blood pressure, making you more relaxed, feeling better. What do you think that is? Yeah, but that's one of them. But which one's the most? It's like the best drug ever. When you're in it, you feel better, you feel more relaxed, you feel happier, and you sleep way better at night. Sunlight. Sunlight, natural calcium channel blocker, causes vasodilation, and what sunlight in the morning does is it basically fills your eye with ocular melatonin, so it gets released at night. So you guys are going away, you're on vacation, or even a day like today, you're out in the sun, you're going to sleep better. You know what I'm talking about, right? You go on vacation, you get out in the sun, you get the time on the beach. Why do you sleep like a baby and feel so much better? Because that sunlight facilitates the release of melatonin in the evening. So sleep is built upon two things. #1, the absence of blue light at night. #2, the presence of AM sunlight. So, for people with chronic pain, with people with even things like concussion, they have the light sensitivity things, which is therefore we want to get them out in the sun in the morning to get those frequencies of light to help balance out the energetics in the brain. So the greens, sunlight, and then even supplementing with magnesium as well. Now, a lot of physicians, when people come in with concussions, what happens is with concussion is you have this blow to the head, your brain releases all these excitatory neurochemicals, which then concentrate. Now, after a concussion, your brain is much more sensitive to any excitatory activity. So if you have, good gosh, you have some Chinese food after concussion, boy, that MSG in there is just boom, sending those neurons, just frying them. You're going to get a nasty headache. You go in and you're having like a soda or a pop or any form of beverage that's colored, all those things, or even too much glutamate. You have protein powders, for goodness sake, with a lot of glutamine. It's going to cause that over-excitatory activity and like cause brain cells to explode. So what physicians do is after concussion is give them magnesium. Now magnesium will naturally help to protect and balance. Now, if you have kids or you yourself, you play sports, this is where you can not only heal concussions and help the brain to balance, which is part of what I do. On the other end, you can actually help to prevent concussions in the first place. You can consume magnesium before. You can consume a higher ketogenic beverage before with MCT oil and coconut oil to provide the brain with lots of fuel. Saravji, you could take some stuff like some of the D-ribose in one of your formulas there, your Ningxia Red thing, so that way your brain cells have more energy to be able to function and therefore have more resilience in case there's any blow to the head. Now, one of the super awesome mitochondrial stacks that I recommend post-concussion, because concussion, what you have is you have energetics in the brain off. You have a blow to the head, and just like if you were to strain your ankle, you'd have some swelling, you'd have inflammatory cytokines, so you want to reduce the swelling, you want to get the energy back in the brain. So some supplements that I recommend for that, and you guys all right now, as you're sitting here, you're going to create a little board in your mind. It's going to be this little board where you're going to see it and you're going to have the concussion supplement protocol recommended, and you're going to recommend it perfectly. Here, I'll put it right here for you. Now, the first thing that I just mentioned was magnesium. And the form of magnesium that you'd want is called magnesium threonate, because it really helps with the cerebral spinal fluid. Different forms of magnesium work on different forms of the body. Number 2, I mentioned D-ribose. Now, why does D-ribose work? It actually helps to replenish ATP levels, and it helps with beta oxidation. Next thing is called taurine. Who here's heard of taurine? Now, interestingly, what taurine does is, number 1, it helps to modulate GABA levels, which is kind of the off neurotransmitter. Glutamate's the on, GABA's the off, but also it helps to modulate the charge on our mitochondrial membrane. So the mitochondria are these little power plants, and your list is still there in your mind, these little power plants that produce energy. And there's this voltage difference between the outer membrane and the inner membrane. And the stronger the difference between the voltage, the healthier the cell. Taurine helps to maintain this cell voltage difference, and therefore helps with energy levels and focus. And ladies, you may want to remember that because it would help you focus much better. And also help if you have a son or daughter with a concussion. Taurine. So this is the time where you're not going to remember to forget. You're going to remember what it is. All these things. And you're writing down. So now you'll be assured that will be inside you. And if you have any doubt, I'll bring you up for a hypnotic demonstration. We'll make sure it's completely inside of all of you. Now, taurine. Next under that, one of my faves, CoQ10, the reduced version, ubiquinol. Now, remember we talked about cholesterol. Now, cholesterol, its function is completely modulated by the charge in the blood. There's this thing called qi. Scientists measure the zeta potential of the blood. The qi of the blood, the energy of the blood. Now, when your energy is low, your zeta potential is low, your blood is all sticky and gunky, meaning particles, they don't flow around too much. Cholesterol, it doesn't get good circulation, doesn't get to where it needs to go. But when your qi is strong, your zeta potential is high, and you feel really focused and learning and feeling good, the cholesterol gets where it needs to go. Now, certain things like coenzyme Q10 have a lot of excess electrons that it donates to help increase the charge of your blood. So therefore, things like cholesterol, fatty acids, they get to where they need to go. Your brain, 70% fat by dry weight. The fats get to your brain. So does vitamin K2. So this is where you want to increase the charge of your blood, so that way things like cholesterol and fats can get to where they need to go. So as opposed to depositing in your arteries, they're depositing in your brain so that you can focus and remember better. Makes sense, right?
The K2 is something that I find as being new, like as far as hearing about it. So is K and K2 different? Like one's responsible for blood clotting. Which one is that?
Well, that will be the K1 effects.
Okay.
Different forms of vitamin K obviously influence different things. The cool thing about vitamin K2 is that it influences calcium homeostasis. So it influences where calcium's deposited throughout our body. So part of improving bone health is getting your vitamin K2 levels in balance. Now, vitamin K2 is very rich in things like the ghee, like the butter. The cows convert the grass with K1 into active K2.
K2 was from green leafy vegetables.
K1's in green leafy vegetable. Yeah. So our body has a decent effect. That's where something like the grass-fed butter, much higher in K2, easy access. So that helps too. And K2, there's certain forms. There's called MK4 and MK7. And the MK7 version basically has like 7 outer electrons, which it donates to help charge our blood. So this is where coenzyme Q10, things like vitamin K2, they're doing similar things to help charge our blood. Now for concussion, we have D-ribose, we have magnesium, we have taurine, we have CoQ10, and we have what's called PQQ. Now PQQ is almost like exercise in a bottle. Helps to increase mitochondrial biogenesis. Now, I'm mentioning these supplements. Do I recommend supplements as a first-line strategy? No. Why? They're called a supplement. Pretty straightforward. PQQ. Last thing is acetyl L-carnitine. Helps with choline levels and focus. Yeah, so you got a protocol right there for your daughter. So yeah, you do want to remember this.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how you spell that last one.
Acetyl L-carnitine. Now, if you spell it phonetically, you will mess yourself up. However, if you had a clear picture of the word in your mind, you would remember it perfectly, because that's what great spellers who win spelling bees do. Now, if we need a spelling 101 lesson, I wasn't planning on, however, I would bring you up here and do that. Because otherwise, you could analyze yourself for the rest of your life, go, I'm not a good speller, and totally mess things up. Like?
I want to go somewhere and ask for it. I don't know.
Well, in which case, you just need to know acetyl L-carnitine and speak it. However, if you need to write it, you may find out with something else, in which case, there's L-carnitine itself, yes. This has the acetyl version, which specifically helps with the mitochondria and brain function. L-carnitine itself helps with fat burning. So, that's with concussion. So we have DHA, which I'm not going to stress it more than I possibly could. 50% of the cell membrane is DHA. Now, the rest of the cell membrane is made up of things like phospholipids, like phosphatidylcholine, phosphoserine, and you can get these in things like egg yolks, liver, salmon, things like lecithin. You want to get a lot of the fatty acids with the oils and the phospholipids to help nourish your cell membranes. So what happens is the cell membrane, this is where the action's at. These are like the different antennas. So all of you got membranes, all these thousands, trillions of cells in your body which have membranes. Now membranes, they receive the energies and they vibrate. So they're like the antenna. So if you don't have a lot of DHA in your cell membranes, you can't receive the energy and information well. You don't vibrate well. So your thyroid doesn't get the clear signal from your hypothalamus. And therefore, your organs don't work too well. So what do you need? You need better cell vibrations. Because if I may remind you, you guys got Wi-Fi in your house. You go onto your computer. Suddenly you can Google all kinds of shit. You can Google about Ferraris. You can Google about lights. All this information appears. Where the hell does it come from? Energy, frequencies, and vibrations. Now, all of you are made out of atoms. These atoms, they vibrate. And depending upon how they're vibrating, it will depend upon what you're actually thinking and what you're aware of in this moment. Because if you go into your car, you could go in, you could put on Depression FM. I can't do anything. I'll never amount to anything. I will continue these bad habits for my entire life. Or you could go into Euphoria channel, or you could go to the Chris channel. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it. No, I can't. Yes, you can. Now, if you're just off on the signal just a little bit, you'll get these squirks in the signal. You won't get a clear signal. And most people go, well, my brain's foggy. I can't think too clearly. Why? Don't have good cellular vibrations at the quantum level. How can you increase your quantum gamma coherence between your cells? Get more DHA. It's quite simple. Now, there's only a few other mammals that have a nervous system and brain quite as complex as ours. Are they on land or are they in the sea? They're in the sea. One of them is really cute. They're beautiful. Dolphins. In fact, dolphins, we're finding out, have modes of communication, the ability to communicate. Incredibly, we don't even comprehend and understand it. Then you have whales. In the bottom of the sea, they have these huge nervous systems and brain. What do they eat? All they eat is algae, krill. They eat thousands and thousands of tons of krill each day. Then you think, hey, why the heck do I have like a vegetarian teeth, but an acidic gut? My gut's like a carnivore. My teeth are like a vegetarian. What the hell is going on here? You might get a little confused. But it may make sense if we ate foods from the sea. Like things like raw oysters, which don't require that you have big carnivore teeth. So one of the secrets lies in getting foods from the sea. Now we talked about energy, we talked about electrons. Where's higher electron density? On land or in water? Water. Now, interestingly, I want to present all kinds of concepts to you to completely blow your mind, till your conscious mind is just totally overwhelmed. Because you may realize that there's thermohaline currents in the ocean that carry cold, electron-dense water from the surface down to the bottom of the sea. And you may realize that's why you find humongous king-size crabs in the polar seas. And then you may realize there's these long giraffes with these huge long necks. And then there's these humans with this massive brain, all these runaway organs. And at the bottom of the sea, that's how the electrons flow. Now, interestingly, in our brain's wired in reverse. We actually have flow of water and electrons from the inside of the pineal gland, the geometric center of our brain, out to the cortex. I've learned a lot of this stuff. One from a neurosurgeon was pretty cool. He cut people's brains open. He actually saw this. When someone's alert, consciousness, their brain, the cerebral spinal fluid, actually funnels like a tornado. It funnels energy. That's what tornadoes do. They take energy and funnel it down to the cortex when we're awake. Now, when we're sleeping, the cortex vortex of flow functions in reverse. Like a hurricane, it dissipates energy so it doesn't get to the cortex. It's pretty interesting.
I wish you could
Now.
repeat what you just said.
Well,
Because you want energy to go up to your brain.
you want it to go to your frontal cortex. So, what happens in a concussion? The energetics are off. How can you increase the flow of energy from your pineal gland to your cortex? Well, our cortex kind of does what a hyperbaric oxygen machine does. It helps to increase the tensions of oxygen and energy electrons in our frontal lobes, which tonight have been clear: DHA, higher healthy fats. So we have the seafood, and you want to do the seafood as a primary strategy. Now you can do the superfood greens, things like chlorella, things like wheatgrass, lots of herbs like rosemary, basil, oregano, natural heavy metal chelators with supplemental DHA, and I recommend pharmaceutical grade. I mean, don't go to Walmart and grab the crap out of Walmart. You know, that stuff's been probably sitting in a warehouse in Texas frying to crap. And then you drink it and you go, oh, I got a tummy ache, the burps. Shit's been waiting in freaking Texas for over a month, frying. So get pharmaceutical grade, a few brands I tested things like, you know, the Genestra brand, the Nordic Natural brands. I've measured people's brain, their brain maps, we've seen improvements. Then you want the things to help with the other cell membranes, lots of fatty acids, things like choline and egg yolks. Yolk runny, not cooked and oxidized. Why? You cook and oxidize it, you see that thing starts to smell more and it changes its physical composition. With the yolk runny, it stays anti-inflammatory, it helps integrate into your cells. It has a different effect. Same thing with cooking DHA. You take a piece of fish and you fry it on 500, you burn the crap out of it, yeah. You're altering the molecular structure of the DHA and denaturing a large part of it. So, if I got someone who's schizophrenic, their brain's way low in DHA, yeah, we're gonna get some raw seafood in there. You know, a little bit of sashimi, some raw oysters. We wanna replenish the brain with DHA and iodine. And then you can do things like beef liver, wild salmon, really high in things like choline and phospholipids. Then we want to go into the actual foods which are fuel for our brain, which our brain can use for immediate, ready, easily usable fuel. Things like coconut oil, MCT oil, really help to boost the brain. So one of the things I do when I want to get into a really powerful flow state, do some writing, is I'll get up first thing in the morning, I'll have some organic coffee, I'll put coconut oil, I'll put MCT oil, blend it up, and I'll just drink that. Now, a little secret before, if I just drink the coffee, it'll be too acidic for me, so I'll get in some superfood greens first. I'll drink a little wheatgrass first. So I get some minerals, alkalinity, nutrients to help balance and modulate the coffee. Then, since coffee is like an herb, speeds you up, I want to put in a counterpart to that to help balance it. Put in some medicinal mushrooms like cordyceps. Because cordyceps and something like reishi will help to balance the effects of coffee. So you have the boost of coffee, but then you have kind of the yin herb to balance it out. Hold on one sec, dear. Then, now I haven't eaten any carbohydrates, any proteins. The body is still in this fasting, fat-burning mode. Then it begins to convert fat into ketone bodies, which the brain can use for fuel. And you'll notice your hunger starts to shut off. You'll have more intense focus. You'll have sharper mental functioning. Now, as soon as you eat, and you have carbohydrates and stuff, now you've just activated a more parasympathetic response, a more rest and digest response. So obviously, you're not going to have the same kind of mental focus and functioning. Now, when it comes to resetting and rebuilding your hormones, and it comes to things like working out, this is where, in the morning, a higher protein, moderate fat breakfast has been shown to be effective for helping to balance, stabilize dopamine levels, serotonin levels. You want to get the amino acids inside of you in the morning. And so typically, you know, what I'll recommend would be like one of those Love and Libido mocha beverages and 2 or 3 whole eggs with the yolk runny. And maybe a few little bit of avocado, if you want. You put in some fruit, then you're on the sugar roller coaster. And you'll find yourself hungry in an hour or two. You just have the fats, you just have the protein, you'll get that nice clean burn with lots of energy and lots of focus. Sound good?
Sorry, what about intermittent fasting and not eating in the morning at all?
That's great. Now you look like you're in pretty good shape. You got nothing to worry about there. So that's good. Now if someone, their body's already inflamed and they're overweight and they're having a hard time losing weight, a lot of their hormones are probably off, things like leptin levels. Therefore, the fasting may only raise cortisol levels and stress levels even more and cause even more fat retention. I mean, I have clients who drive themselves nuts. It's like, I'm eating less and gaining more weight. It doesn't make sense. It's part of it because their cortisol levels and everything's all whacked out. So that morning breakfast helps to synchronize and balance that out.
There's lots of people talking about fruit and bringing it back in, and the energy level of fruit versus different like proteins and how it should be eaten first. And like
Oh yeah, well here's the thing.
Michael, I forget his name.
December 31st, in the middle of winter in the cold, how much fruit do I eat? 0. May 23rd, hey, 27 degrees outside. How much fruit am I eating? Hell of a lot more. We're designed to eat the foods. Food is codified energy in sunlight. That's what it is. So when you're eating fruit, it has a lot of high energy from the sun. Now, if you're in the middle of winter and it's cold outside, you're not getting a lot of sun power. This is where you want to be getting higher electron density from fats and more ketogenic, because you don't have the sunlight, which is like natural insulin. But when it's this time and you have the sunlight, it's naturally designed. Your body, you have a banana, you raise your glucose levels, you go out in the sun, it's like natural insulin. It's balanced and coupled. So really when it comes to fruit is you want to focus on that depending upon where in the year you are.
Which makes sense, because if you think back even 20 years ago, like when I was, we only had strawberries in June.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, if you're looking for optimal health, that's what you focus on. If we're talking about an Olympic athlete who's training like absolutely crazy and like destroying themselves in blue light gyms and stuff, sure, we're gonna make some adjustments. But generally speaking, you want to eat what's naturally and seasonally going to be available. You can't go wrong that way. And that way, everything is coupled and connected together.
Because I'm pretty much totally confused with everything, what you said at the beginning. Everybody's talking different things, and
Oh,
so.
now the more, well, the nice thing is, well, the cool thing is,
that way.
the more confused you are, the more you can realize it breaks into a few simple parts. Number one, we have the structure. So you need enough DHA, you need enough fats to help build that.
My optometrist actually, yeah, they said this high quality.
Yeah. So you get that for the structure. And then B, you're looking at, okay, how am I going to fuel my energy source? Then you get to make a decision. Hey, today, you know what? Today, I need unbelievable mental focus. I need to not even think about food. Okay, boom. We're doing the intermittent fasting with a more ketogenic state, coconut oil, MCT oil, put in the beverage. We're going to drink a 11 libido mocha. We'll be good for 3-4 hours. And you're doing that. Or you may be like, hey, I'm going to go sugar burning today. You know, because I got this intense yoga class. I want to, get the muscles, the repair and stuff. Okay, we're gonna have some more fruit and stuff. But then I'm gonna know I'm gonna be hungry in 2 hours, so I better as well plan on it. Does that make sense? Now you want to do one or the other. Most people, they get in crap when they do both. When they eat like the traditional breakfast, which is all this cream and this coffee and stuff, and then they put sugar with it together. You don't want to mix the two. If you're going the sugar route and you're having fruit, just eat the fruit. Don't put in all the fat there. Just do the fruit. Be more in sugar burning. Make sense?
Totally.
So that's where you make a decision. So like, I don't eat any bananas during the winter. I had 2 bananas today. Because it's what our body is naturally going to respond best to based on seasonally, and it also depends upon what your own goals are. So as long as you have the stuff for the structure, then you have the energy source, and then you go, okay, the third piece that I don't talk about too much, but which is really the game changer, are the super tonic herbs and superfoods. So like you want to get into things like the traditional Chinese medicines, things like reishi mushrooms, cordyceps, ginseng, all these different superfoods, because they have dual adaptogenic properties. So if your immune system is overactive, they'll help to modulate and bring it down. If it's underactive, chronic fatigue or something, it'll help to speed it up. Now, over the long term, you get these really high energy adaptogenic herbs and stuff into your body as they naturally integrate and become like a part of like your nervous system. So there's some really, really cool research like this guy, a mushroom researcher, his name is Paul Stamets, seeing how mushrooms can actually go into environments and help to rebuild the environment. Now I thought about that. Could that be happening in our nervous system? Could something taken like reishi mushroom, could it actually go in and integrate and help to build our nervous system inside? It's shown to enhance immune system. It's shown to do all these things. So perhaps it could do it. Now, what I'd like to do is ask you guys, is there anyone in here who has a food habit or compulsion that they would like to change? Like, would they like to change eating ice cream for having a better sex life?
Well, if no one else is going to put their hand up, you know it.
Wine,
Yeah, you
wine,
can.
wine, it's wine.
So you'd like to wind down
Yeah.
that habit? And
Yeah.
what would you like to wind up? You have a certain habit?
Exercise.
Exercise? Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. Now, I'm going to just get 2 chairs here. Now, do I have any other volunteers? I'm giving out free drugs here, ladies and gentlemen. Free hypnotic drugs.
My problem is going to bed too late at night.
Hey, I didn't ask what the problem is. I just asked if you have something you want to change. Now, there could be several reasons why you're going to bed, too late at night. In which case, I wouldn't want to mess it up. Do I have any other brave volunteers? Okay. Now, this is an exploratory experimental group, and let me borrow another chair. You're going to come up here, Suze?
I am.
Wonderful. Well, we might as well bring your chair up here because we're going to finish off the night here. We got. Yep. Well,
Yeah, that's
it's something we are going to change. Because the thing with trying is it just doesn't work. Doing does.
No, it doesn't.
Come on down.
I guess I can't take
No. No, you're gonna get your brain. Do you mind if I take this chair?
No, I don't mind.
All right.
Sorry, I don't know if I was a yes or a no.
Come up here, Michelle.
And it's not just ice cream, so we're aware.
Okay.
It really worked for ice cream. We got the ice
We're gonna-
cream.
okay.
I keep thinking liver and hairball.
All right. Yeah, you got a pretty vivid imagination. So part of this thing is, being a hypnotizing hypnotist, it helps to develop our imagination because, in fact, really everything is limited to our imagination. And turns out there's no limit to our imagination, which is kind of cool. So with our brain, we could actually imagine and desire anything. Come on down, Susan. Have a seat there. Now, I'm going to talk to Michelle. So you have a certain habit you'd like to change for something else, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. How about you? You have a habit that you do too much?
Definitely.
Okay. And you have a habit you do too much?
At least one.
One? We're going to start off choosing one. Now, what I'd like you to do is we're all going to do this together. Is I'd like you to just stop for a moment, close your eyes, and see whatever it is that you do too much. Maybe you're having too much ooh for chocolate or ice cream. Now, as you see that image of whatever it is that you've been doing, just notice where the image is in your mind. Notice that feeling. Because there's 2 parts to this. You have the habit of doing it and you have the actual craving itself. And I want you to remember a point in time where you really, really craved to do that habit or felt compelled. I have people who are OCD for cleaning the drawers. They see the drawer, they feel like they have to do it. Because that picture is guiding them. Only thing is, I wonder, why do they have that picture in there at all? Now, for a moment, I'd like you now to think about, Michelle, think about the person you would like to be. Because inside of all you, there's an idea of the person that you'd like to be, but you're not yet. And part of the reason is you haven't been leaving that picture up there. You've been letting the graffiti for the wrong thing stay up in the place where you want to put the right thing. So see that person that you would really love to be, the person that you're not yet. Maybe you haven't even thought about it yet because you've been too busy with whatever it is that's not important anymore. See that image of the person you want to be, the person in control, the person who can go in a room and say, nah, I don't think so. The person who could be filled in a whole house full of ice cream, a full house full of chocolate cake, chips, whatever that dynamite thing is for you. Now, when you see that dynamite thing, I'm wondering, do you feel desire for it? And the answer is probably yes, because you do it. Now just notice where that feeling is. Notice where it starts in your body. Notice how it moves. And try something for a moment. Take the picture of that habit and make it bigger. And notice, does that amplify the desire? Does that amplify the feeling? And then bring the picture back to its original size. Now, what I'd like you to do is, in the corner of your mind, is see that image of the person you'd like to be. The person that you aren't yet can be. And then really fast, see that habit. See it flying out of your mind like a comet, just shooting out until it's just a dot out in outer space. And then pop up that big, bright picture of the person you want to be. Now do it 3 times really fast. See that habit flying out like a comet? Person you want to be. And then make that picture of what you want bigger, brighter, clearer, so that you can have more ooh for what you really want. And I know you can feel more ooh than that, Michelle. There you go, that's the stuff. Now, giggling can start to spread. It can start to spread from one person. It can spread to the next person. There you go, that's the stuff. Then you think, ooh, this is kind of silly. You giggle a little more. There you go, that's the stuff. Because part of the reason why you were doing that silly habit is because you weren't laughing at it. And now you're going to have a new problem. You're not going to be able to hold yourself back from laughing at that silly habit. Then suddenly that person is going to be there in your mind. Ooh, of course, giggling can keep spreading. It can spread over here. And ooh, there you go, there's a little giggle. Oh, and then you try to get serious, but then it just comes there. Ooh, there you go. Now, I know you know what a giggle is, Suze, isn't that right? There you go, that's the stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to have to tickle you. Now, giggling can spread over here, Susan. Because the more you're smiling from all the way inside out, the more you can look at that person you really want to be and feel a growing sense of desire. Now, Michelle, I would like you to take your hand here, hold it stiff like this, and begin to feel a pull between your thumb and your nose. And it's just the attraction to be that woman that you would love to be. And I'm wondering, what would her body look like? What would her hips look like? What would her face look like? Ooh, and what would it look like to have that control? To be that woman that you would really love to be. What would she look like? And then, stop right there, Michelle. And see that habit for the last time. See that image, and then see the person you'd love to be. And I'd like your unconscious to decide which person, which thing that you'd really like in the long term. And then pull yourself all the way inside of it. And when you do, these good feelings are going to well up and explode inside of you. And the more you think, even the thought of that habit, it's going to make you giggle and desire to be that woman. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, sleep. Now, for you too, I know your unconscious can take this arm, hold it stiff here, and I don't want you to let it down any faster than you clear away all pictures that led to that bad habit. You giggle them away, and you develop a clear, precise image and plan, maybe even a mental movie of the woman that you would love and you're going to be from the moment you leave here to the moment you wake up tomorrow, and the days and the weeks and the months ahead. In fact, each and every day you could see yourself getting more focused, more determined. You could see yourself with the control in those very situations. And your unconscious can start to let your hand go down at the rate and speed at which your brain masters this new habit, so that it's almost at the very moment time slows down. And when you find yourself in the kitchen, when you find yourself at home, you ask yourself, there you go. Is this really going to get me where I want to go? And if the answer is no, you giggle, and choose something better. Because the key is, you got to ask yourself the question, not only what will make me feel better now, but what will make me feel better now and in the future. And that's to be the person who you'd really, really want to be, the person in control. Now, Suze, I know you remember what smiling is. There you go. That's the stuff. Now you're in the right state for me to talk to you. Now, what I'd like you to do is to take these two hands, hold them here like this. Now, on the one hand, Suze, you have the old Suze, the one who got really good at those bad habits. And you know what they are. And maybe there's not just one. Maybe there's a whole bunch of them. And you could see those on the one hand. And on the other hand, you could see the Suze that you would love to be. The Suze that you would love to step into tonight, now, and for the rest of your life. And I'm wondering, what would she look like? What would she sound like? What would she be able to do? And begin to see an image of her on this right hand. And then your unconscious, with each thought, each breath, each sensation, can start to bring those two together, so that everything that led to bad decisions now leads to good decisions. So that everything here starts to lead here. So that the past now leads to the future. Your unconscious understands what this means. It means that everything that used to lead to those bad habits can now lead to good and better habits. And let your hands come together at the rate and speed at which your unconscious makes all the adjustments, so that you find yourself not with ice cream in your mouth, you find yourself exactly where you want to be. Now, Susan, now perhaps you have a to-do list here for me, and it could take a few hours. However, the nice thing is with trance is you can condense a few hours into just a few moments. And for you, I'm wondering, what would the Susan who wakes up in the morning and asks herself, how absolutely exquisite can I feel today? How full of joy, how full of pleasure, how full of delight. What would that Susan look like? I'm curious. Now start to form an image in your mind, an image of that Susan you'd like to be, such that you can take this hand, hold it up stiff here like this, turn it around, right there, and start to feel a pull between your thumb and your nose. And it's just the attraction. Despite any distraction, the more there's distractions, the more you need to focus, dear. It is the secret. Yes, Suze, you know what I'm talking about. There you go. And you other two ladies know what I'm talking about. There's going to be all kinds of beeping and jingle bells. There's going to be all kinds of sounds, including from your own brain. Your brain's going to say things. It's going to say things like chocolate cake. That's when you need to giggle, Suze. And you need to look at what's important. Becoming that person that you really want to be. The person who can do anything she puts her mind to. And just let your hand come closer and closer to your face. As you pull that image closer, bigger, brighter, until the moment your thumb touches your nose, you go from looking at yourself to being inside of yourself. Oop, here you go. There you go, right there. And then just relax, nice and softly. Now, Michelle, for you can take this arm, you can hold it here, and you can hold it here. And you can do the same thing that Suze is doing right now. You can take everything which you used to do that was such a silly habit. When you look at it now, it's just oh so silly, isn't it? And you know what those things are. And the only difference is, instead of seeing what those things are, you could just see that old Michelle who used to do those things. And you could look at her and you could smile and you could go, oh, what a sucker. She fell to those habits. She mastered those habits until you look at her and you get curious. What would be better now and in the future? What would the Michelle with the absolute sense of empowerment, ability to focus, ability to put her mind to anything, what would she look like? And see her on this hand. And let your unconscious bring your hands closer and closer together so that all the things that used to lead here now can lead here. And all of you, this is just a little trance to get things right in your mind. And when you sleep and when you dream tonight, your brain can rehearse. It can rehearse the learnings, the understandings, the information which resonated, the information which you need, and most importantly, it can see a clearer, brighter, more focused image of what it is you want. And then just smile. Just look at that person and smile. Begin to desire. Now, for all of us and all of you, the biggest problem is that we're so used to using stress. I better eat this or I'll get fat. I better not eat this, it will make me fat. And then you look at your parents or your grandparents and you see a lot of them not really in a great state of health. And maybe you worry, geez, will I get a heart attack like them? And then only after you stress yourself up enough, you get worried enough, you feel bad enough, then finally you get to the gym. My policy is a little bit different. I like to use desire and pleasure and good feelings, such that you look at that person you want to be and you really feel a desire to her. You really start to crave her. You really start to feel, oh, you know that mouth-watering, oh yeah, there, you got it, anticipation. Oh, Suze, I know you got the anticipation thing down, where you see something and, ooh, you just want it and you can't wait for it. And you could see that Suze coming all the way inside of you, closer and closer. And the moment your hands come together, something magical is going to happen. You're not going to be able to hold that desire back. You're going to feel compelled to act upon it. Now, and Suze, you can feel a lot of that too, Susan. Now, in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. You're going to wake up, and when you do, You're going to come all the way out. Only you're not going to come out of this state. You're going to come out of the state that you were in. The bad habit state. And you're going to stay inside this more focused, more controlled, more pleasurable, desirable state for now and only the rest of your life. Now, when I count to 3, I want you all to wake up like a freaking rocket ship with an unexplainable sense of well-being, an unexplainable sense of focus. All these good feelings, all these giggles, all these endorphins are just going to explode and rush through your entire body. You're going to smile, you're going to vibrate, you're going to feel like you just had something that felt like the best thing ever. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. How you doing?
Lovely.
How you doing?
Great.
Well, you guys did beautifully. We're at time now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Now, before you guys go down, you see, I'm a worrier by nature, guys. I worry about my clients. So, what are you going to do tomorrow?
I'm going to get some sunlight.
Are you going to do that bad habit tomorrow? I worry.
You worry? No, I think I'll be okay.
I think you'll be okay too. How about you?
No, I don't think so. Not
Oh,
tomorrow.
oh. Not tomorrow.
It'll be on Friday that I'll worry
You're
about
planning on Friday. So, now, are you going to worry about it on Friday?
it. No?
Or are you just going to pick a decision on how much you're going to do and stick to it?
Yes.
And then feel good?
Yes.
How about you, Suze? Oh, I worry about you, Suze. How about you?
I'm looking forward to not doing what I'm used to doing.
So you mean you might do something new? So you're looking forward to doing new things. Isn't that wonderful? How about you, Susan?
Yep.
You're just smiling there. You're feeling good?
Yep.
How about you guys? How about the 2 docs in the back? You guys ready to have the best time ever? It's about time. You guys deserve it. Best time ever. Get your DHA, lots of sunlight, have a great time. And remember, everything's about balance. You know, you could go out and sit in the sun and put all kinds of oil on you and fry like a freaking French fry. You know, like anything. You get too much sunlight, you get too much blood flow and radiation, you will overwhelm your circuit and you will burn and you will be inflamed, and that will not be a good thing. So get a balanced, moderate amount. Now you can do cool things. You can have like a cold shower so your skin's cold, so that way you can harvest and use more light. You could consume more DHA so you can actually get more light into energy. Therefore you could have more energy, which is why you could be like bouncing, you know, with tons of energy.
Cold shower before you go out in the sun or after?
Before. Yeah, and then if you go after, it will shunt all the blood flow with the high UV light into your internal organs to help nourish them too. So you could actually do both.
So that's why Tony Robbins does that.
Now, Tony Robbins jumps in the thing in the morning because cold itself, especially cold water, it really helps to reduce inflammation, growth hormone, all kinds of neurotransmitters. Yeah.
Therapy, like at the Scandinavia spa.
Oh yeah,
It's good.
yeah, that's good. Yeah. I did all kinds of biohacking. I'd go up to my cottage and I'd fill it up with snow. Went a little overboard, but I tried all kinds of stuff that works. Yeah. Now the cold thermogenesis thing, it's really, really important. Like for people who have like diabetes and stuff, people who've got chronically high insulin levels, it just reduces it fast. So all the people who are overweight out there, guess what they're missing? They're a squirrel who's missing a winter. Because even squirrels, as fat as they get, I tell you, those squirrels, they just munch on food. Then they walk one way, and then they go the other way, then they go the other way, until they're roadkill. Most people like squirrels. But the squirrels, they get the hibernation, they get the winter. So they get to dump all their fat stores, burn it all off, so that way they wake up in the spring ripped, like a polar bear, filled with testosterone, ready to mate and bring life. So you may be thinking, hey, I need a hibernation here. Hey man, can you hypnotize me? Give me my hibernation, I'm long overdue. Hey, can I go up to your cottage to do the cold thermogenesis? No, we could do the hypnosis part too into the ice tub. Michelle, you may need to do that. If you repeat that bad habit, I'm going to call you up. You're going to get the ice bath treatment.
What I want to do is go into ice. I like everything.
You're going to get the
being hot.
frozen hand treatment, the hypnotic hand. Your hand's going to get 1 inch from your face, and then it's going to freeze. I might do this with people who smoke, do hypnotic time distortion, so that it takes like 2 hours for their hand to get to their mouth. It takes all the fun out of it.
How long should you be in the cold shower?
Oh, a cold shower is different than the cold tub. The cold shower, you can do 5-10 minutes. You can do long.
That's a long time.
That's a
30
lot of waste
seconds
of
I have a
water.
hard time.
A waste of water.
Yes.
I know. On your poor health just isn't worth it. Yeah. Let's put a real low value on it. Yeah, worth $5. Now, more than $5 of water just ain't worth it. That longevity thing, not worth it.
So can you do hot first and then cold? Or do you
Yeah, you
have
can
to
do
have it
warm first and
cold?
then cold. Now, cold shower is different than a cold ice tub. When you're submersed in the water, you're getting way more heat being stripped from your body. Therefore, you're getting a stronger cold thermogenic effect. Now, you don't need to do it so it's like 0 degrees Fahrenheit. You do it so it's like 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is,
Put it in Scandinavia's, that's
Yeah.
58, I think.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So you could do something like that. Now, that's in the case if you have chronically high elevated inflammation. That's where the cold is really effective for reducing it fast, or for promoting healing. Like if you have surgery, or if you got like a broken leg or something, doing the cold will really help to speed healing. Because part of what happens with cold is what it's doing is it's basically reducing the entropy in the cells. So inflammation, what happens is you have things becoming more random. Cold slows everything down. It slows all the rates of reaction. Therefore, it helps your biology to get better control of the situation. So after every extinction, you have these periods of cold. And what happens is the cold enables all the entropy to reduce, so that way life can regenerate.
Chris, I've been taking cold showers since the beginning of the year, but I find that now that my body's getting used to it, so I don't find the same effect.
Yeah, what's happening is because you're becoming more of a man. Your body's getting used to it. You're getting tougher.
Dealing with it.
You're getting tougher, as opposed to being like
I'm
a.
actually looking forward to it. You know, it's like I can't wait for that cold
For
shower.
5 minutes.
It wakes you up, man.
No, I mean, I start off with a hot shower, and then the last 3 minutes, it's cold. And I can
Okay.
go on for 5-10 minutes after
Yeah.
that.
Like all the way cold or
Yeah,
just
all
a
the
little
way
bit
cold.
cold?
No, all the way
All the way
cold.
cold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right on in the place you want to get is right on the back of your neck.
You
It's
don't
better
even turn around, just put it
better than a cup of coffee,
Like,
Even in the front of your face right here when it's coming.
especially on your brain. So if you're doing the sauna, always finish cold. Always finish cold. Saunas are really great too, because what happens is when you go in the really heated environment, what happens in our cells, we have these convection currents, flows of energy. So when you go in something that's warmer, like in saunas, is you're increasing the convection flows of energy in the cells, therefore you're helping with detoxification. Does that make sense? Now what happens is if you leave your brain hot, every super quantum computer has got to be cooled. So you want to make sure you're finishing off cool to help with, for your brain. Your brain's going to function better in cool. And part of the things to help you sleep better at night is to get your temperature down. That's what melatonin fundamentally does, is it helps to reduce our temperature so we get the deep sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
So when I do my hot yoga class for an hour or 75 minutes, they have showers there. I should then go in a cold shower right afterwards.
You could. Yeah.
That would be
But the hot yoga, it's not like you're like in like a screeching hot sauna.
sometimes.
It's
it is.
105 degrees.
Yeah?
It's
No,
sometimes
it's
really
over
hot.
100 degrees.
It's at least 100.
You're getting a pro and con to both, because your body's being stressed to have to adapt to the heat and bring you down, but which is beneficial sometimes. But by other token, if you got a lot of mental work that you want to do to get back in focus, clarity, I get cold on your head.
I
Yeah.
sometimes give them cold cloths at the end.
Yeah, cold cloth on the head, yeah. Which is actually pretty cool if the body, and then, leaving the body artificially overheated is good too, just to help kill off pathogens, viruses and stuff. You're basically creating like an artificial fever. So one of the things is I lift like a lot of weights, I do a lot of martial arts. Like after some workouts, I will go in the sauna and I'll just brood it out in there, because that will really help to keep the body clean internally and flush out toxins and kill off bad bugs and stuff.
Do you do a cold shower after that, or you just stay hot?
Yeah, I'll do a cold shower because I want to get back to work. I want my brain to turn back on. Yeah, I'll get the brain cool. Yeah.
And you do it in the back of your neck, or you do it on your face?
I do the whole body.
The whole body.
Yeah, but especially if you get on the back. Yeah, you work out fine for you, like a cold tub itself. Now, Susan, I wouldn't say that you need cold tub unless you got some unbeknownst autoimmune condition I don't know about. You look great. Cold, I generally recommend if there's inflammatory condition.
Psoriasis, I have inflammatory. Yeah.
Well, then for you, sunlight and DHA are too.
Yeah, sunlight helps. When I was in Florida, it was almost all gone.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get in the beach too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the minerals.
Salt water.
Yeah. So you intuitively know.
Yeah.
So get your vitamin D levels up. Yeah.
Now, I'm overall fit and healthy, but I have undiagnosed GI issues right now that are the worst they've ever been in my whole life. So I'm going through all kinds of testing and stuff, but I don't know if that's an autoimmune response or what. Nobody knows at this point what the hell's going on.
Okay. Well, a few things is right off the hop is you got gut problems. Is number one is addressing anything that mentally is stressing you out, because you can tell. You think something, boom, you get the stress in the system. Number two would be high dose curcumin, anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 curcumin. 3,000 milligrams of curcumin can help to really heal the gut. Same with resveratrol. And then you can do things like onion and garlic to really clear things out.
I need a ton of that.
That will help. Magnesium.
Turmeric is like
I would do curcumin.
like a supplement curcumin?
Yeah, in addition to turmeric.
Okay.
So do 1,000 to 3,000 milligrams. Do the resveratrol, and you can get the resveratrol up to 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams. It's a nutraceutical. And no, I'm going to get the recording.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you can have.
Okay.
Come back. What are you doing?
I'm going to write that down. I'm just going to write that down.
Resveratrol, 1,000 to 3,000. You guys really trust your memory. You missed last seminar. I had a totally different group. It was a memory seminar. Were you here, Suze? Suze was here. See, Suze is getting more and more, confident. She's realizing, hey, I'm trusting my unconscious here. It's listening. It's taking notes. And most people, they don't trust their memory, which is it's kind of cool. I had fun with it. So that way, this is the cool thing. If you guys do public speaking, you guys are getting anxious about speaking in front of people. Good gosh. They got a working memory like that. You messed something up 20 minutes ago that's already out of their head. All that matters is say something funny now. So they're laughing. It's a great thing too for guys, meeting people is, the women, they forget that you didn't remember their name. It's getting way too easy for guys. Women, you got to work on your memory here. Don't make it too easy on us. So curcumin, resveratrol, get your progesterone levels in balance. The DHA will help with that. The cold will definitely help with that for sure. The sunlight will help to reduce any calcium efflux stressing your system. Lots of coconut oil to help clean things out, and magnesium.
I have a lot of that.
Those two should help, and then get in some fermented foods. That should help, boom, right there. There's your kind of, your secret mix. And then I would address anything that's causing stress in the system, get your iodine levels up, make sure your iron levels are up. Yeah.
Have you seen those lucky fish the iron, have you ever looked at that? It's called the lucky fish, and it's like a little iron fish. You can cook with it to put iron in your food.
A lucky fish?
It's called Lucky Fish. It's actually a company.
It's a supplement, iron
No,
supplement?
it's actually a little iron fish that you put in when you cook vegetables.
So it's a fish with iron in it?
No, it's just an iron. It's a little
It's
piece of
probably
iron.
like a
It's
So-
like an iron,
cast iron pan.
Cast iron. It's a little
But-
cast
but
iron.
they're
Yeah,
thrown-
little
thrown
fit.
in
But it's
it.
called Lucky. If you Google Lucky Fish,
I don't know about you, that kind of scares the hell out of me.
they've done lots of research. They're based
Something,
there as well.
something, learn something new every day. Well, I'll research it. They don't have Lucky Aluminum, do they? They tried that long ago, didn't they, Doc? You get the Mad Hatter thing.
You can buy them.
Have you seen like X number of people take Lucky Fish over a long period of time?
There's lots of research on their website. They're based out of Guelph. I've met the. So
Yeah, but there's lots of research everywhere.
I don't know if it's good or not.
Do you have someone who you like or don't like? Let them try Lucky Fish for 3 months. Then find out.
And when you say coconut oil or MCT, isn't coconut oil MCT?
medium chain triglycerides are a select few of fatty acids, which are part of, coconut oil has a whole bunch of fatty acids.
Oh.
Medium chain triglycerides are just one small category fraction of those.
Of those, I thought that coconut oil was MCT
And does
oil.
vitamin C
Yes.
figure in anywhere?
Yeah, vitamin C is great. Again, that's where you can really get that with diet, with foods. I mean, I recommend just in terms of the decalcification thing, lots of like lemon in teas, get a lot of vitamin C, keeping you alkaline as well. Vitamin C is in everything from green vegetables to raw juices. You have one green juice with vegetables and a little bit of fruit, and you got your vitamin C there. Yeah. Vitamin C, important. It's talked about more. Focus on iodine. Iodine is a game changer.
And
So
I
how
have
do you
something
get
called
iodine?
incandescent or
See-
something named.
Sea vegetables.
Do you care whether it's Lugol's or nascent, or do you have a preference?
Yeah, Lugol's is good, but the best place to get iodine, like I said, is oysters, sea vegetables, kelp, nori, wakame, all these sea vegetables. That's where I would go first, and then do the supplement as the secondary backup.
So where do you go to get raw oysters?
There's actually a good fishmonger here in Richmond Hill. It's called Off the Hook. And the guy who works there, he's a bit, I don't know if he's the smartest guy ever. But I refer tons of freaking people, and he's still not giving them discounts. So if he's watching this, Off the Hook man, give these people discounts, and I'll keep referring people. Otherwise, we will go off the hook and we'll open our own damn store. Or I will, because I recommend so much DHA, I could make a business out of this. Just like I could be selling coconut oil under a brand of Brainpower Nutrition, which could be coming in the future. Now, we're at the point where we're almost wrapping up, and I have a special plan for you. Is I do QEEG brain mapping in my practice, so measuring brain activity. For those of you, any of you who want a customized brain nutrition plan with both nootropics and nutrition designed for you, I'll do that for only $99. A brain map and nutrition plan for you for the next 3 months, get you lined up to get a brain working, body, address any specific individual things for you. If you want to do that, you can sign up with that, buy that tonight. And for $99, a full brain nutrition plan. You can do it in 45 minutes or less. You tell me what it is you want to work on. I'll do a quick map of your brain, see what's going on, then we'll dictate the nutrition. So if you guys want to do that, that's something I'm going to do tonight, since you guys did come out here and show up, and I appreciate that. So if you guys want to do that, you can come see me, and that way we could really get to the individualized component recommendations for each of you.
One question with coconut oil, is there one that's better than the other? You each gave us that list.
Well, this is one of the best ones. These guys have the best.
Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah.
they're quite good. Yeah.
You have to research.
Yeah. Well, I actually know them. These Sri Lankan guys, and you taste it. It's
They have been doing it for a long
long time.
So what's the difference between buying, I can go to Metro and get organic coconut oil at a very good price versus buying a different brand, it all says it's organic coconut oil. So what's the difference?
The difference is, this is the cool thing.
Pressed.
That's cool too, man. Is everything in your left brother and right brother is being called organic now. So organic's losing the thing. What we're looking for is we're looking for the energy mana inside the food. So you could have one coconut oil from like maybe Costco compared to a coconut oil like this. Both say they're organic, both say they're cold pressed, but one makes you feel way more energized than the other. So this is where what we're looking for is we're looking at the actual mana, the energy that's in the foods. So for instance, when you have like cacao being grown, in the tropics, in the jungle, full of all that mineral rich, all that sunlight energy, you eat one of those, you're gonna have way more energy than just a farmed cacao further up north. So really, it's boiling down to the energy levels, and really the only way you can find that out is through your own personal experimentation. Because I got news for you. I could tell you everything in the world what to do, but if you go home and you try and it's like, hey, that didn't work. Now, if you're like a lot of my clients where it does work and then you go back into re-justify to mess yourself up, because most people like to kick themselves in the nuts and mess themselves up because they get so used to it. It's like if you're a doctor or a chiropractor, you get someone 99% better, but they come back in your office and they go like, "Doc, when I go like this, man, my neck still hurts." And the doc's just looking, "Why the hell would you put your body in that position?" Because we're so used to looking for what's wrong. Because every single thing we did in our life, there was a big X around it to look for what's wrong. Now, if you're looking for what's right, and looking on what's right and focusing on that, and something doesn't work optimally for you, then it doesn't work optimally. So then your results integrate that. So the most important thing is that for all of you is that you innovate your own superhuman diet.
When you were talking about that third layer where you get into, supplements and I forgot the term that you used, like the ginsengs and all of that.
Tonic herbs.
Tonic herbs. But most of our systems are so messed up to begin with that you can't even get to that level. First you need to don't you need to get to a point where you're detoxed and you've kind of gotten rid of the toxins so that you can actually benefit and see what those things do to your body?
Well, you hit on the nail. You're in a bathtub, you're putting clean stuff in, it helps to pull the plug to let the shit out.
Yeah.
Totally. However, if you got something like cancer or you got some serious autoimmune problems, you want to go for the heavy hitters right away because they'll protect you no matter what. Now, if you have those other layers taken care of, it's going to make everything work better. Like for instance, all the nutrition is going to work better if you exercise because now you've just getting the energy moving. Now all the nutrition, now your body's absorption, everything's going to be improved. Your sensitivity, all that's going to be improved by having exercise. So yeah, first things first is you want to stop putting the crap in your body. Eliminate things like, if you're going to go hardcore, eliminate things like grains, the dairy, more of the nightshades for periods of time, things with excitatory ingredients. Reduce things like, you're keeping the dairy to a minimum, you're keeping the gluten, the wheat to a minimum, you're keeping your omega-6s and fats to a minimum. So like even things like nuts and oils, you're keeping that to a minimum if you're going to fill your brain with DHA. Make sense? So you get that in, then you add in those fundamental ingredients. You add in the DHA, you add in the fats, then you add in some detoxification. Some daily detoxification is key. So that's where like for every person is like I'll usually recommend you get some superfood greens in there, whether it's wheatgrass, whether it's chlorella. So that way you're having the detoxification component, the light energy component, the green. Spirulina is good too. People digest chlorella and spirulina differently. I found chlorella, a lot of people can handle it more easily. So you have the greens, then you got the mushrooms, then you got like kind of the vitamin C thing, the berries, camu berry, blueberries, strawberries, goji berries, all those things. So the optimal human diet, in my eyes, is quite simple. You have as much wild seafood as you can, moderation, for like dinner. You have lots of wild berries. You get wild greens. You drink wild spring water. And you become a wild, wily human being.
What you're saying that those things have been stressed in the environment, right? Those things have been stressed in the environment, so when you eat them, you're consuming them.
Dude, you got it. That's what an antioxidant is. That's what resveratrol is. That plant is getting stressed by high energy light, and the plant secretes and builds the resveratrol to protect it. Now the resveratrol stores all the electrons, all those photonic energies from the sun, so when you eat it, you're getting all those energies and nutrients and protective compounds in you. Make sense? So you actually want more stress foods. That's why these adaptogenic herbs, ginseng, and these different herbs and stuff that grow in the mountains, are like cordyceps, are really great because they secrete all these really powerful, potent molecules to protect the plant, which when you consume it protects you. Make sense? Cool. Any other questions?
Millions.
What type of supplements do you recommend for insomnia? Or is that a pretty big area?
Well, if I'm recommending for insomnia, I'd probably say Red Bull. Coffee, you'll have great insomnia. Go out to the bars, you know. Oh, you meant for sleep?
For asleep.
Oh, okay, for sleep. Sorry, I just was listening to what you asked for.
I have to get back for a phone call at 10:30.
Okay.
Thank you very much. This has been wonderful.
Well, thanks for coming out.
We'll be in touch.
We do it every month. Yeah, be in touch. Thanks for coming in, guys. Okay, see you guys. Magnesium threonate helps. Like I said, the morning sunlight's the best drug. Absence of blue light at night, go on Amazon and get some blue light blocking glasses.
So what about that calm? Is that enough for the way magnesium?
That helps too. Different.
Magnesium glycinate, what was that called?
Well, biglycinate. So different forms of magnesium do different things. Threonate specifically for the cerebrospinal fluid. So you want to get magnesium threonate into your brain.
So where do you get that?
Literally.
Huge difference for me.
Yeah.
Is that just a supplement?
Yeah, you can get it at a health food store. Yeah. Yeah.
All three of you.
Okay, guys. Well, that'll be everything for today.
Well, we need to
Um,
sign
For the nutrition plan?
up for that.
Yeah?
I'm already getting
already
that
done
with my
it.
session with you on June 5th, so it's already did the
Yeah.
scan and the
Yeah.
yoga.
I'll, cool.
Yes?
So yeah, if you guys want to do a map, nutrition plan, I could set that up for you and, get the best fuel ever while building the best brain ever.